Please! God damn it! Oh man, why is my luck so bad today? I summon Exodia and take your life points directly! I don't really have that much to say about this game. It already started off great by not supporting my native screen resolution and fucking up my screen layout, requiring me to play it in this tiny windowed mode, to the game itself being kinda Which doesn't mean it does not have anything speaking for it. The art, for one, is absolutely beautiful, and the gameplay also has somewhat grown on me after my first experience. Throw of Bone, first of all, amazing title pun, I love it, is a roguelite deck builder that tries to offer a complex and interesting gameplay loop while being relatively simple. You have a small field where you can place your cards, being able to buy new ones every wave. The cards attack automatically in chronological order, and the match goes on until all the enemy cards are defeated. The complexity, like in any good card game, comes from the abilities your cards have. And those combined with the spells you can get, and the ability to upgrade your cards further by combining multiple of the same kind, gives the game a nice feeling of making you feel like you're getting stronger. But I have to admit I did not really play a lot of roguelite deck builders before, so I'm unsure how it compares to its contemporaries. All that I can say is that the game felt extremely frustrating at some points. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do against this asshole? My entire party is wiped, and this thing still has its health in the double digits. It's also just a demo currently, and not a really long one. I beat it on my, second try, after a total playtime of what, 20 minutes? And I felt kinda unsatisfied, like I wasn't really able to get a real feeling for the game and an understanding of how to deal with the more stressful situations, because there also was no way to get your health points back after losing them, or at least I did not find any. But I do see the potential. It seems like there's a really big amount of cards. Like I already said, the art is amazing, and it also feels like you really can make some massively cool and broken builds if you know what you're doing. The game also has a really cool utilization of the Necromancer concept, with your army being all sorts of different kinds of undead, and that being the reason why they come back after the wave ends. They just rise again. I'm also really interested to see the other playable characters and the new abilities and cards they bring with them, so you know what? The series has been going on for a while anyways, and a bunch of demos and early access games I looked at in the past had the full releases by now. So how about this? There's gonna be an extra segment in the next video where I'm gonna talk about games we already covered that had the full release by now. And when this video is out, the full version of Throne of Thrones should have already released anyways. Yeah? Sounds good? Good. Currently, I would give this game a B. The potential is there, the demo just did not let me live out the intended experience. Yep. Oh, what a nice looking forest. Huh? I said, what a nice looking forest! Hey yo, continue! You can sleep when you're finished! So, like I said, what a beautiful day it is! I wonder what adventures are in store for us here!
It seems like a small gremlin appeared in front of our hero to punch him in the balls.
What? Why?
Oh, it's bad luck to be you.
What can I even say about this masterpiece? The Bard's Tale ARPG is a spin-off of the Bard's Tale Dungeon Crawler series, a trilogy of very old school first-person dungeon crawlers that got its revival with a fourth entry not so long ago. And this was a fun spin-off they made for the PS2 and the GameCube back in the day. It reminds me a lot of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, for its style and definitely from how the map looks. And man, what a blast this was, even though this probably was the most bare bones and simple RPG I have ever played in my life. I had an amazing time throughout. It basically is a button masher with level ups letting you maybe unlock a new weapon type or something like a basic special attack. I mean, you even automatically replace your gear once you acquire better gear, with your stats also being as basic as possible.
Now here's a piece of hurt that'll let you swagger down any street and never want for safety. The Claymore, or as I like to call it, the Emperor of Evisceration. It's 3 cubits long with 3/4 length parallel fullers, a barrel cut 2-handed grip, and balanced at the hilt for better leverage and shortcuts or long swings. This weapon definitely covers a lot of ground, and what it lacks in speed it more than makes up for in pure stopping power. Now it just so happens that due to a slight accounting error I'm overstocked on this particular item, so I'd be willing to let one go for a ridiculous price.
Which doesn't mean this game doesn't have its own complexities, because that's where the summon system comes into play. You are a bard. A bard with a magical instrument that allows you to summon a massive array of creatures that you can conjure up by using their respective tunes. That was one of the two highlights of this game for me, seeing what cool new summons you were able to unlock and later even upgrade, with all of them having unique uses and abilities, allowing you to have a huge array of different party compositions for your journey. And you heard me right, there's another highlight. The absolute bonkers writing. The story is filled to the brim with hilarious moments, stupid quips by the bard and even the narrator, who the bard can actually hear and constantly bickers with. It's glorious. The voice acting is also extremely well done, with every bit of dialogue being fully voice acted, and just adding to the absurdity of this plot. And what also cannot be missing in a game called The Bard's Tale is a bunch of music. You'll constantly run into optional mission bits and even music you can listen to, even with subtitles and a sing-along bolly thingy. The song you've been listening to in the background is actually from one of these occasions. You can constantly find these bodies of other people that were sent on the same quest as you are, and when you loot the body, these 3 dorks show up, where they just start going, "Oh, it's bad luck to be you," and sing about how horribly your death is going to be. It's just so fucking charming. I just could not contain myself and had to sing along the entire time. There are a few really annoying gameplay bits though, where you really can feel the budget cuts and just jank from the time. But oh my god, this was just a blast to play through, and I mean, I only wanted to test it for a while and I beat the entire thing on stream. That's how much I enjoyed it. The game is also on basically every platform imaginable. I mean, it's even on the fucking iPhone for some reason, but okay, I mean, when you're already releasing it on a tablet, why not also release it on the more powerful one as well, right? But isn't the Bard more of a summoner than a necromancer? First of all, didn't ask. And second of all, counter-argument. So yeah, this game is an easy S tier. It would even be an S if the 2 to 3 annoying segments wouldn't be in it, but yeah, it's still great. I'm even thinking about making a retrospective about it because I loved it so much.
Are you done finally?
The hero falls through another portal into yet another world.
Oh no, not again.
But not before he gets another punch in his nuts because he made the drow sad.
Wait, what? Oh, I feel a lot better all of a sudden, but also kinda store-bought and unpolished. I'm so unsure what to say about this game, because it feels like it's an amateurish attempt of someone's first ever video game project, so I don't want to be too harsh. And then on the other hand, it seems to be developed by an entire team that has made and even published games before, so I don't know. Let's just be honest and don't beat around the bush. Monsters Domain Prologue is a cool concept, buried under a thick layer of bullshit. But let's start at the beginning. We are a godlike deity that was sealed away in this tomb and released by these knights that were looting the area. But we can't survive without a physical body, so we possess one of the knights, killing the rest of them in the process. The animations and voice acting here are so dorky, which isn't a bad thing in particular. It definitely is kinda cringe, but I do think it is funny and charming in a sense. This is also where the necromancy comes into play. You gather souls by destroying these massive crystals and killing enemies, which you can use to either resurrect or reanimate human enemies. The difference between both of them being one costs more and resurrects them with their already held equipment, and the other costs less and resurrects them without, meaning you have to equip them yourself. It's an arcade system and works fine enough. Your minions act on their own, with you basically only being able to command them, stand on a pressure plate for example. The rest of the time they just follow you around without too much of a problem, and also take enemies that were aggroed by you. And I'm glad that they actually are so effective in combat, because man did it feel clunky. Swords are as basic as you can think, with you just clicking and swinging or doing the longest charge up for a strong attack that I ever witnessed, but also never as useful. With every swing also costing stamina that recharges pretty slowly as well. Both don't really feel that much better. They look bad, I'm pretty sure the hit detection is botched, they are weak as hell, and I basically never used them because of it. But luckily there's also staves, that are able to shoot massive fireballs in a ridiculously high rate. It doesn't cost any mana and just a fraction of your stamina. So there's at least a weapon type that doesn't feel like complete garbage. But what's the mana for if not for magic weapons? Well, with each level up, you get a skill point that allows you to upgrade your skill tree to unlock magic spells that basically all boil down to different colored projectiles. Or at least the ones I was able to try. But what do you even do here? What is your goal in this prologue? You have a pretty big but linear map to explore, where you kill enemies, level up and kill a boss at the end. And then the same one again. That part was okay in my opinion. The map looks nice, even though obviously just scrambled together with bought assets and then morphed and altered around. Like, what did they do to this cube? I'm pretty sure that's not supposed to look like this. And also the combat is enjoyable once you found a weapon you vibe with. It also just felt kinda meaningless and not really well thought out. Like for example, there are dungeons on the map, that you can do for experience and extra gear, but they never have enemies because they are based around you avoiding the traps within them. And traps with AI controlled companions that follow you sounds kinda annoying, right? But don't you worry, because your minions wait for you outside. I think these dungeons were meant as some sort of challenge, but with you having to do them all on your own, but that doesn't really work if all you have is a super limited tile set, which you are reusing multiple times for these dungeons in the demo alone. So that felt pretty flat for me. It also got annoying really quickly that you only were able to use the bodies of humans to summon minions. Because a lot of the time you are not fighting those, and you also need to sacrifice a human body to heal your army, meaning if you were out of luck, your minions would just die, without you being able to do anything for them. And when they die, they also lose all the gear you equip them with, which led to me mainly using them as trash cans, rather than actually trying to give them a good build. And can we also just talk about the enemies in this game? This is supposed to be a goblin. Like, come on. The humans look okay, just standard dudes with standard armor, but what is wrong with these monsters? And I'm also pretty sure I've seen this boss somewhere before. He's just so familiar, and I don't know if that's because his model was used in a game I know, or if it just looks so bland that I'm confusing it with something else. And here's the funny part. Once you've beaten the boss, that's like double your level, even though I killed every enemy in the area, you have to fight the same guy again, a few minutes later, but he's one level higher and literally undefeatable. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but he's just one-shotting my dudes, there's no healing in the area, or even trash mobs that I could use to resummon something. Oh, and he also just heals himself over 100%, randomly. No, yeah, fuck this game. D tier. It's just not really fun and way too bland. With its boring dungeons, the bad feeling combat, how everything feels just completely scrambled together as a last-minute high school project with nothing but unfitting store-bought assets and the bullshit final boss for the area. And I didn't even mention the fact that most Steam reviews are actually agreeing with me and also talking about how the Steam reviews are botted, because nobody seems to like this game while it still sits at a mostly positive, with the dev even responding to a few reviewers with deflections and ignoring the botting allegations. You know what? The D tier is now called the Monsters Domain tier, to honor the first game to ever enter it.
You don't deserve to possess my body!
Okay, there was a lot of games already. How do I get home? I should be far away from them by now, so I should try to find a way back. Oh my god. I just have to talk about this game as well now. This is good. This is peak. Finally. This is everything I wanted from Diablo 4 and more. And a lot of these things are even pretty similar to the game, while actually doing them correctly and good. But let's start at the beginning first. Last Epoch is a Diablo-like ARPG that has been in early access for a while now, working itself up from a pretty mixed first impressions to now being considered by some as the true spiritual successor to Diablo 2. And I get why. There are 5 classes, and one of them, obviously, is the Necromancer. The Acolyte. And on the surface, it's a pretty basic class, in a pretty basic RPG. You have big and varied looking randomly generated maps where you kill enemies, loot and level up, hub areas where you can sell and buy gear and see other people, and obviously your skill tree. And here we have the first thing that makes last Epoch unique. You have 2 skill trees, because the game splits them in an active and passive one, with the passive one also being relatively standard, with you getting 1 point per level, which you can allocate in the tree to unlock more passive nodes, and the active one reminding me a lot of Diablo 3's, unlocking new abilities after reaching the required level, and even a few that are unlocked by placing enough points in the passive tree. But that is not why the system is unique. No, 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 no. Prepare yourself, because the active abilities also have skill trees.
They have what? The active abilities also have skill trees!
This is so cool, you cannot believe it. You are able to equip up to 5 spells in the specific leveling slots in the menu, allowing the skills to gain experience points, which now allows them to gain levels and skill points, which you can allocate in their specific trees to completely change how they work in some circumstances. Do you like your skeletons, for example? How about you can summon more? Archers and knights aren't enough? Here are rogues! Skeleton mages are too basic. How about magical death knights that fight with 2 swords and are able to use some of your spells and can blow up your own minions for massive damage? Or how about this ability? You don't like that it costs mana? No problem. Now it costs life instead, while also leeching life from enemies and make them explode on death. And your golem don't like to have just 1? How about 2? And yeah, they are smaller, but with just a few other skill tree points, they're just as big as the normal one. I think you get my point. And that's just one build. There are so many directions you can take your army in. It is staggering. But that is still not all. After reaching level 20, you can ascend your class into one of 3 paths. The Necromancer. Ah, there you are. The Lich and the Warlock, giving you a second passive tree with even more new skills, like these skill raves. But don't feel too down about having to choose. Remember that one ability that I mentioned with the Life Leech? That's from the Lich path, because the first half of the other 2 trees is still accessible to you, so you can mix and match a lot of different things together. I'm still not done, by the way. Don't think that's where your build creation ends. Obviously there's your gear, and yeah, that obviously gives you higher stats and things like that, but there still is armor with even more passive abilities. For example, I found Keeper Gloves pretty early in my playthrough, giving me a chance to summon beasts after killing an enemy. Meaning that next to my massive army of undeads and wraiths, I also had beasts attacking the enemies. Just look at this screenshot. 4 of my 5 active abilities are summons, and there are even passives that give you even more summons. See this guy? He appears when I drop under 50% health. See those guys? I summon those after either one of my minion dies or I kill enemies. See those guys? I summon those after using one of my attack skills. Sorry, I think I came a little. This game is a necromancer's wet dream. Literally. And that's just the specific Necromancer path. I haven't even had the chance to try out the other 2s yet. You know what? I'm gonna make a separate video where I can just gush about this game some more and try out the other 2 specifications. So let's keep the focus on the Necromancer for now. This game has me in a constant loop of developing my build and planning new things for the future. And it manages being complex and having a massive depth and build expression without having to learn 8 different science degrees and being ridiculously complex. The game stays understandable and simple, while still offering people who enjoy those deeper and more complicated systems something they can have fun with. And I just love the sheer amount of minions as well. I wish you could have more than 5 active skills equipped at the same time, because there are so many other summons that I barely got to use in this playthrough, which also just speaks for this game's replayability. There are these ghosts that do damage to everything they touch, there's explosive zombies, there's a shade that drains your minions' health, but buffs their DPS, and there's also this massive abomination that you can summon that consumes your other minions and their stats. Not to mention the attacks and gear items that are also able to summon creatures for you. And there's probably still even more that I don't even know exists yet. Who knows? After I've tried out all of the classes, maybe I'm gonna try and make a pure minion build where I'm literally unable to do anything myself, just to see how it would go. And I'm also really interested in trying out the other classes at some point. If just one of them is this cool, imagine how creative they got with some of the others. What I also want to mention is just how interesting the endgame has been so far. And just to be clear, I mainly have only dabbled my toes in it. My only goal for this video was to beat the campaign, to try out this one specification in this one class. So who knows, maybe my opinion might completely have changed until the other last Epoch video comes out, but right now I'm loving it. You start out on the small island in nothingness, and you have the choice between connecting to 2 other ones. Each of these islands is a level, or better said, a dungeon you have to explore and fulfill a task in. And the islands give the dungeon specific extra affixes. Like enemies are stronger, enemies have more health, but also affixes that are good for you, like specifying the items you get as a reward for clearing it. Do you also see that big bar at the top of the screen? That gets filled up every time you complete one of these dungeons, allowing you to choose between even more that progressively get harder the farther you get away from the starting point. But in return also drop better loot and more points for the bar. If a bar is high enough, you unlock specific, more challenging levels that you have to complete to challenge the boss. And here's the kicker. It's new areas you haven't particularly seen during the campaign, and it's also new bosses, and they are super unique. The bosses in general are pretty good in this game. The campaign, for example, doesn't really have a lot of them, but damn, they are good. They actually require you to pay attention, being hard, but having pretty well telegraphed attacks. It almost did not feel like I was fighting an ARPG boss anymore. It makes me pretty happy. And once you defeated the boss, you unlock another floating island that's higher level, and the fun begins anew. The system is seriously addicting, and I may even get flagged for this, but I'm gonna say it. It's the Nightmare Dungeon system from Diablo 4, but actually thought out to the end. Instead of randomly getting sigils that turn normal dungeons into higher level ones, you almost have another skill tree you have to go through, where you can gain specific items and gear in the easiest way I have ever seen in a game like this. You also feel like you are doing something new and exciting instead of doing the same thing over and 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 over again. And you basically are doing that in the last Epoch as well. Let's be serious, there's only one thing you're doing in these games, and it's imploding hordes of enemies, but it just doesn't feel as redundant and monotonous as it is in D4, because they just present it better. You just feel like you are constantly progressing, not only your character, but also the world, and I love this about this game. But if there's one thing I'd actually criticize about the game, it's the actual dungeons, because the game has a few, but you can't just access them whenever. You have to find keys to enter them, which rarely ever drop for me, and they seem cool with unique themes, objectives, and cool bosses at the end, but you only have one try and then it's over. And if you want to retry a dungeon, you have to find another key, which isn't really that big of a problem. The real dungeons don't really feel like they are supposed to be grinded or anything, but more like challenges to overcome in the endgame anyways, with them also being playable in different level tiers. I just felt some whiplash from going from a pretty relaxed experience to these way more challenging dungeons with actually high stakes. I don't really think anyone is surprised if I put this game in S tier. It's everything I ever wanted from this kind of game and more. And I hope I managed to at least somewhat capture why I like this game so much in this video. Thank you to everyone recommending these amazing games to me as always. So, where's the exit again? Hey! Oh, it's you from the beginning who saved me! Completely forgot that you were even a thing. Thank you again for having me out back then.
Don't worry, man, it's a pleasure.
So, who are you actually?
Oh, don't you recognize me?
It's me!
Hey! Thank you for making it to the end of the video. It's been a while since I actually recorded anything due to a lot of things just changing recently in my life, which is also one of the reasons why the content has been a little bit more dry than usually. Unless you've been following the live streams, I'm still live streaming like at least once per week on Friday, so hey, if you want to check out more of my stuff, you can always check out the live streams or come in live on Fridays. And this was quite a journey. I tried out a little bit something different this time with these two videos. Like you may have noticed that instead of covering 8 games, the last 2 videos covered 8 games in total, like 4 games per video. But to counteract that, the independent sections of each game were longer, I went more in depth, and I also tried making the animations a little bit more advanced, making them a little bit more detailed with more frames and everything. I think it turned out pretty alright. I also hope that my jokes actually landed. But yeah, this was like something I just wanted to try, and I hope that I can still improve it in the future. I hope to also see you again in the future, and I also want to thank all of my current members on YouTube. I want to thank Kirsty Halloran, MK33, Mitzi, and of course there's a special thanks going out to Lantern Light and Cyrus, who are now forever engraved into this picture, which I still hope it is growing in the future. Sadly, there was no one joining them this time, but who knows, this could change in the future. This was definitely a fun ride. I definitely also have a lot of plans for the future. I actually haven't really played a lot of Necromancer games in recent times. I definitely have to get back to that if I want to make more videos like this. The list isn't shrinking, it's just growing. There's still so many more games you guys are just mentioning over and over again, so be prepared for that. There's a lot more coming. But first, I definitely want to make a video just talking about Last Epoch and other versions of the Necromancer class, while also working on an Elden Ring video. This is probably gonna be a pretty big project, so it's gonna be something. But hey, I've been rambling on for long enough. If you actually listen to everything until here, you're a real one. Thank you for everything. Thank you for all the continued support. I hope to see you again whenever the next video comes out. Who knows? Doing these heatwaves, I'm working slower than normally, even slower than normally.